Welcome to the GTN show.
Yeah, we've got a bit of an Ironman 70.3 World Championship special today because they've just released the race course for the event, which is really cool. So we're going to be running through that and what it means to you if you're racing, as well as announcing their new title sponsor for the event.
Also, On Running have released a plated shoe for the everyday runner, for those more realistic race paces.
Yeah, and then on the opposite end of the scale, we're going to be taking a look at the Chasing 100 Adidas spectacle that happened just a couple of days ago. Essentially, they set 5 athletes off to try and break the 100-kilometer world record, but in some super high-tech running shoes. They even spent 5 days in hyperbaric chamber beforehand.
Plus, we look ahead to all the racing coming up this weekend, the World Triathlon Championship Series in France, also the T100 in France, and the final event that isn't a World Champs of the Ironman Pro Series.
Okay, launching in then Ironman 70.3 World Championships, which aren't obviously until November, but we've just had the course release, but also the announcement of their new title sponsor, which is none other than Precision Fuel and Hydration.
Yeah, good news on that front. I mean, you're going to see the rainbow stripes of Precision Fuel and Hydration everywhere on race weekend in the lead up to it, but that's not a bad thing. They made the announcement last week. This obviously adds on their already partnership with Ironman, where they were the hydration partner for Ironman Europe, Africa and Oceania. So they're just kind of building on that partnership and yeah, quite a cool little scoop for them to be the title sponsor for the 70.3 World Champs.
Yeah, so you'll be able to find obviously the Precision Fuel and Hydration 1000 electrolyte hydration on course, and then fueling wise you'll be able to get the Morton gels and bars, but yeah, very excited to see that. Moving on then to the course, because I think that's what everyone's sort of waiting for and have been anxiously waiting for, because if I'm honest, this has come quite late in the day. You would have expected this to have come a lot sooner, and it's a really, really cool course. Very hilly, quite a challenging course. So swim-wise, it's just a single loop in the sea near to the harbour. But out onto the bike, you basically start with a 5-kilometre section adjacent to the sea, and then you head inland. And this is where you basically just go straight into the climbing. So you head up the main highway. The first main climb takes you to approximately 18.5 kilometres. So you have about 13.5 kilometres of climbing. On the way out, the bike course actually does deviate off the highway. So you essentially sort of go round this mountain, and that deviates off around 11.5k, and then you rejoin at the top at 18.5k. And then you're into a really good descent, essentially to around 47 or 48 kilometres. On the way out, and on this descent actually around 33k, you turn off the bike course, do a 2.5k out, 2.5k back, essentially just to make up the distance, and then rejoin that highway and then carry on descending. And then, yeah, you basically turn around at that 47, 48 kilometre mark, and you've just got a really long climb back up, but this time just simply on the highway, and yeah, a really quite steep descent down into town.
Yeah, challenging course, which I like. More than 1,700 metres, 5,800 feet of climbing in there. But the good news, particularly for American viewers, it's not particularly technical. Like, it looks really twisty and turny on the map, but actually when you zoom in to the actual course, it's not that technical. It's not like hundreds of switchbacks or anything like that. And I think you can get away with maybe not knowing the course that well, or not being as technically efficient on switchbacks and things like that, and still ride a really good course on this hilly course, even if as long as you're strong for climbing. Obviously.
Yeah, and I think because I think a lot of people, if they're coming over from overseas and maybe not able to ride on technical courses, often that might be a concern. But I'm not sure you need to worry so much about that. But at the same time, it is still challenging enough, or will test you, maybe your descending abilities, etc. So potentially in the pro race, we should see some exciting racing, because I think it will be quite an honest course. You won't be able to just sit in groups. I think you really can, if you can descend well, you can open up gaps. So I'm very excited about this. Back to the age group side of things, in terms of bike choices, I think this is quite interesting. I think if you can ride well on a TT bike, absolutely stick with a TT bike. But if you're
I think you'll see all the pros will be on TT bikes.
Oh, 100%.
Sure.
But if you're umming and ahhing between road bike, TT bike, you're not so sure about TT bike, I'd probably be towards the road bike. And if you've only got a road bike and you're thinking about getting a TT bike, well, just stick with the road bike, because I really don't think there's going to be a huge amount in it, if at all.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's a road. It split the difference on this one. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You can use whichever bike you're most comfortable on, and have spent most of your time training on. That's always an important factor. The run course for this is, they've also changed it from the normal 70.3 Marbella course. It heads out the promenade on the existing route, and then again heads inland a little bit, but back on the main road, and basically it's completely flat. I think there's 82 meters of climbing in the entire route. So yeah, it's pretty much flat and fast.
Yeah, it's going to be
some good racing.
Yeah.
So we were speaking about courses, and this got us obviously talking about, we're a bit excited about this because it's an out and back, it's got some hills, it's got some jeopardy in there for people, and gaps to form on the pro race. And we were like, well, why don't we see more of this? And it is a bit frustrating because courses are getting easier and easier and flatter and flatter. And we've spoken about it before on this. But actually this weekend, we've got the T100. Ooh, bit of a slip there. I said 70.3 and I meant T100. It's awkward. Anyway, the T100 French Riviera this weekend. And that's also a more interesting course than we've seen in T900 before, because for the first time they're doing a single loop course. And actually that's meant that the men and women are starting at almost the 20-minute interval, so they're riding the same course, which is not a problem when you're not doing 8 laps on the bike. You don't have to have completely separate races, which I am definitely down for. I can find 4 hours to have it on. We're finding 3 hours 45 for the one race and then another 3 hours 45 for the other races, especially when they put them back to back and you've got like 20 minutes to,
I guess the reason for a lot of these looped courses previously is just the broadcast, right? They're trying to make it easier.
I do appreciate
and they're trying to make it
entertaining,
so you've got these updates and get these time checks. But actually, for the spectacle and for the racing itself, I do think these single loop courses and challenging courses
take something away.
Really
I do appreciate though that it is much harder to televise, at least televise well, a single loop
So we'll
course.
see after this weekend.
We may change our mind after this weekend. We have spoken also about WTCS being guilty of this, that they do these 8-lap 5-kilometer courses in every city in the world, and they basically all look exactly the same. In fact, we spoke last week about Hayden Wild bemoaning the fact that the Weihai course in China has actually changed from last year's pretty hilly route where they went out into the hills behind Half Moon Bay, and this time, again, it's a lap course and it's pancake flat, which is, well, he was definitely disappointed by. Anyway, we'll get on to the racing coming up this weekend a little bit later on, because there is a lot of it coming up this weekend.
Well, so talking of racing and the T100 events, of course, a couple of weeks ago we announced that the T100 Valencia event has cancelled. Now, we did hear at the time that this potentially was only for the amateur race and they were trying to find a replacement for the pro race. Indeed, they have. So on the same date, the 20th of September, they have just relocated that event to Oropesa del Mar. So it's literally just down the road, the next town over, from what we understand. And the race will go ahead. We don't have anything as of yet in terms of the course or know what that race will look like, but the race is happening.
Yeah, which is good. Didn't have to move it to like Australia or something like other ones. Yeah, anyway, moving on. Em Pellet Brown and Jared Brown have announced the birth of their son, Lachlan John T. Brown. Congratulations to both of you on the exciting news and your new adventure.
Yeah, congratulations. Also spotted, and I don't know if you've been following this, James, but Lionel Sanders, obviously on his YouTube, he's been documenting his battles with Red S and his injury, and I think he's called it his Rebound series. Recent video, he's jumped into sort of talking about, well, answering a number of questions, but also tackling the Ironman World Championship Nice question, whether he's racing or not. Now, I've got to be honest, I just assumed he wasn't, given the injuries he's had. But I think a lot of people are saying, seeing him training more and looking pretty good, he's feeling a lot healthier, thinking, well, is this still on the cards? He has announced that that is not happening because he just doesn't think he can do it justice or actually fully get round, because he thinks just over the next couple of weeks, the most he's going to be able to do is run for an hour. So then trying to put his body through a marathon, fair enough. But he is hoping to be back for later this season. So 70.3 worlds? I don't know, we'll see. Could suit him, that course, actually.
We'd like to see him back racing, but not rushing to cruise and walk a marathon or anything like that. Okay, also, did you see this? Magnus Midtbo.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah. So this guy, who is famous, he's got quite a following on YouTube. He's got, I think, 3 million subscribers. He's a former rock climber who does all kinds of crazy stunts and challenges with military, etc. Decided to jump in, literally, into the Norseman.
With 2 weeks preparation.
2 weeks, yeah. He literally went for a bike setup, did a VO2 max test, did like 3 runs and 3 bike rides. 10 days out, he rode 140 k's just to see if he could.
Also, did you see him in the swimming pool? I mean, he literally was learning to swim more or less.
He literally tried to learn to swim in 2 weeks. He got a new bike, a TT bike, and got fitted on it and went out to ride it all in the 2 weeks leading up to do Norseman.
Wild.
And then he did it. And he finished 69th in 13 hours, 30 something, which is, I mean, very, very impressive. But it is also very much in the, that is crazy, don't try this at home kind of realm, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, having done the race myself, it is a flipping hard race. And to have just arrived there with 2 weeks preparation is mind-blowing, really. So, yeah, fair play. Do give that video a watch. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Hats off to him.
Okay, moving on then into tech news, and we've got a few cool new releases and leak things going on here. So first off, some new shoes from On Running. We've got the On Cloud Boom Max, which are a race shoe for your everyday runner. So this is a shoe that features a lot of the technology from the top-end race shoes, but they're designed and tailored for runners maybe running at more realistic, slower paces, and also to suit their needs. So it's still got the super foam, which is the Hilly super foam they use in the top-end shoes, but rather than a carbon fiber plate, they've got a glass fiber infused speed board running through the shoe. And as I say, it's sort of tailored for a little bit more weight going down through the shoes, a bit more cushioning. But actually also, I mean, we've been running in this shoe. I really like it, and I'm actually going to wear it for some of my tempo runs and stuff.
It's like a training shoe that isn't your super shoe. I think there's actually quite a market for this, and we've had quite a few discussions behind the scenes about this factor in super shoes these days, is that they're all made for these elite runners to run really fast marathons, and then if you're running a 4.5 hour marathon, you also slap them on your feet, and how can they possibly be optimized for someone who's 85 kgs running a 4.5 hour marathon when they're optimized for someone running a 2 hour 3 marathon?
Yeah.
They can't be optimized for both of them. And it looks like On is listening to that, and they're going, you know what, you need a specific super shoe for your specific needs, a slightly heavier runner running slightly slower who needs a little bit more structure and support than their absolute super shoe, but also wants a super shoe that's really fast for their race. And looks like this is it. We don't have a weight yet for the shoe, but pretty light and comfortable from what we've seen. And I think, this is definitely going to fill a gap in the market. So right on the limit of that 40 millimeter World Athletics. It is 40 millimeters at the back with 32 in the front, so 8 millimeter heel toe drop, which is fairly standard these days, I guess.
Yeah, nice. Moving on then. I don't know much about this. This is something.
Well, this has been spamming my Instagram lately. I don't know whether I clicked on one of the adverts and were like, what is this? And now Instagram's gone, dude, you must be interested in this. And they are absolutely spamming me. But it is this clip-on power meter that clicks onto your chain and kind of attaches to your front derailleur so that it holds it there. And it just kind of floats on your chain. So it's on Kickstarter, and they basically are raising funds for it, and it's done really well, I believe. And it's priced at $299, which is way cheaper than most power meters out there, and claims that it's going to be able to give you pretty much all the other data that a power meter would. Obviously can fit on any bike pretty much instantly because it just clicks onto your chain and connects via Bluetooth to all your normal apps. It's going to give all your normal bike metrics like your cadence, torque, power output, left and right balance, which Mark was skeptical about.
I've got so many questions, but also left and right power balance. What happens if I drop my chain? What happens? Does it just get mangled up? Like, does it get ripped off?
It just spins around and goes into your rear derailleur and then doesn't cause any damage to it. So, I don't know. I haven't seen it there. I mean, like I said, it keeps spamming my Instagram, so I have looked at it. But early backers can purchase it for just $184 right now, bearing in mind that I don't think it actually exists yet.
Yeah. I mean, it does tout an accuracy of ±1%. So
Also,
pretty.
so many questions.
Well, I mean, I'd love to see it in practice. I'm sure it works very well on a turbo trainer, but then what happens when we get outside
and when your chain gets dirty?
There's the bouncing of the chain. Yeah, I'm super interested. I love innovation, but yeah, I've got to say I'm a little bit skeptical on this one. Right, moving on. A couple of days ago, we had the Chasing 100 Adidas event. This is basically where they set off 5 top-level ultra-endurance runners.
I had no idea this was happening.
No, and this is really, it popped up a few times for me on social media. I was aware of it and just, I'll be honest, I thought it was happening maybe a few months' time because there wasn't enough noise around it. It's kind of like an Ineos 159, but over the 100k distance, trying to break the 100-kilometer world record.
Which is, to be fair, a little bit more niche.
It is niche, but it's also phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
To break the 100k world record, you need to run at a pace of 3:35 per kilometre for 100 kilometres.
Yeah.
That is nuts, isn't it?
It is nuts. And a South African did it.
Yeah.
Sibusiso Kubeka did it, triumphantly broke the 6-hour barrier in 5 hours, 59 and 20 seconds. So not leaving a lot of wiggle room towards the end of the 100k there, but he did it.
After 6 hours or like less than 6 hours of running, thinking, God, I'm going to like chasing every second here. So he beat the previous record of 6 hours and 5 minutes, 35 seconds, which was set by Alexander Sorokin, who actually was taking part in the event. He's one of the 5 athletes. He finished 3rd in a time of 6:04:10, so he beat his previous record.
What's really interesting about this attempt, though, was the technology they used.
Oh, yes.
So their shoes, the Adizero Evo Prime X, which stands an absolutely towering 60mm stacker.
Yeah, which obviously breaks World Athletics rules of the 40mm stacker.
I don't know how you balance on that. It's like stilt walking.
So this shoe is purely for time trials, records, so it can't be worn by pros in any sanctioned events. But for something like this, I guess it's just fair game, right?
I guess. I mean, yeah.
I'm sure there'll be people that argue. Valtteri Bottas actually was involved in the whole marketing campaign behind this. So actually about a week or so ago, I saw a video from him sort of releasing and showing off this shoe. But the shoe is pretty special and phenomenal. So it's actually, each shoe is supposedly engineered for this attempt for each of the runners. But then also those shoes, about 5 days out from the event, go into a high pressure chamber, hyperbaric chamber. Basically they pump air bubbles into any gaps within the midsole to try and give it as much pump and spring as
literally
possible.
inflating your shoes before you go out.
So just pull it out of the hyperbaric chamber just seconds before and let's go.
It's going to be interesting in T2 where you've got to decompress your hyperbaric chamber to get your shoes out of the bag. Anyway, they're not legal in triathlons either. They are interesting concept and interesting, to see them pushing the limits of technology, but also legal, and I think you do have to have a line somewhere on what you can and can't do with this technology.
Might get some for my 5k attempt.
All right, on to your race news. This past weekend, there was a fair amount of racing, starting with the SuperTri in Chicago, which is part of the Chicago Triathlon Festival, which apparently, according to the broadcast, had something like 10,000 athletes taking part over the course of the weekend.
Oh, wow.
Which is a pretty big triathlon. Anyway, the SuperTri didn't have 10,000 athletes, but it had some of the best in the world and a very impressive performance by Alberto Gonzalez Garcia. Like, really impressive.
So I've not actually watched this race yet, but I've heard it was pretty impressive. He just launched himself off the front and just building up.
It just got further and further ahead. Tyler Mischuk put in a strong surge towards the end to try and reel him in, but actually it was his race. He just wasn't going to give that up. It was very, very impressive racing. So he took the win there. Tyler Mischuk second and John Reed in third. They are from Podium Racing and they are now ahead of Crown Racing in that. Jean Leher took the win on the women's side, also from Podium Racing, with Georgia Taylor-Brown, who had just come over from her middle distance T100 debut last week to do this one, and she's going to another T100 next weekend, so she's crisscrossing the globe. She was second, and Fanny Salai, who is only, I think, 17 now, been racing for a couple of years, but we talked about her when she was a 15-year-old phenom, and she is still a 17-year-old phenom, I guess, because, very impressive to finish on the podium there.
And moving on, we had Ironman Switzerland this weekend, which was a male pro-only race. That was won by Leonard Arnold, and second, Marius Bierkasset, and third, Frederick Funk.
Who actually missed his Kona slot by 81 seconds. 81 seconds between him in second place, and he was going for that Kona slot, and he missed it in only his second long distance race, but he's got plenty of time. It was literally the first qualifying race for next year's Kona, so he's got plenty of time to do that. Also, it was Challenge Samarkand this past weekend out in Uzbekistan, which saw Sarah Perez-Sala take the win ahead of Amelia Watkinson, Anna Bergston in third, and on the men's side, Britt Will Draper took the win ahead of Brit Max Stapley, with Ognjen Stanovic in third.
Nice. Also 70.3 Tallinn this weekend. That was won by Kadi Kaviova. And on the men's side, Henry Rapove.
Yep, very impressive. Kadi Kaviova is actually also doing the T100 this coming weekend.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the T100 French Riviera, which happens 24 hours before the WTCS French Riviera, a big weekend of racing where World Triathlon and T100 come in together, and absolutely stacked fields for those. Running through the women's field, Kate Ward, Jess Learmonth, Ash Gentle, Lucy Barham, Taylor Spivey, Paula Findlay, to name a few. Notably, actually, when you look at these races, you kind of have to just go who's not there. So Taylor Knibb is not there at this one, and Lucy Charles-Barkley, who won the London a couple of weeks ago, is not there at this one, but still very stacked on the women's side, and equally so on the men's side. Helle Geens, Rico Bogan, Hayden Wild, who is on both of those start lists, as we mentioned last week. So he's doing this one on Saturday morning. And then the bike familiarization for the WTCS race, which happens on Sunday, is at 11 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
And the men's race for the T100 will probably finish at about 10:45. So I'm not sure how he's going to do that. But,
notable name missing, actually, Mika Newt has announced that he's not going to do that. Not because of any injuries or illness, just he's deciding to take a little break and then come back for the end of the season.
The leader of the T100
series
at this point.
And then, of course, WTCS, French Riviera. And of course, if Hayden is doing the double, be very interested to see the battle between himself and Alex Yee, and of course other competitors. But
Hayden's given himself quite the hamstring there to go against a very in-form Alex Yee, judging by his recent 5K time, when he's just done a T100 in his legs.
Also, obviously, we've got the Ironman Pro Series event, Zeeland Zee, 70.3. Notable names racing here, we've got Kat Matthews.
She actually doesn't need this race because she's got 2 world champs coming up.
Of course she doesn't need it, but of course she's still going to hammer it. This is Kat Matthews.
Well, yeah, but she basically didn't do this last year, and it all came down to she had to get the result in the... Mark Matthews was actually saying on their podcast that it's just so that there's less pressure on that last race at the Ironman 70.3 World Champs, where it has to go well, otherwise she's completely out the running for the Pro Series.
Totally get that.
So this is kind of like a backstop, and she has been training in Austria for a while. So
she'll be up against Anne Reichman. There's also Danielle Kleiser on the start list, obviously a very fast runner, amongst many others. And on the men's side, we've got Cam Worth, Jonas Hoffman, Nick Thompson, Cameron Main. Looking like some fast racing on both sides there. Yeah,
we are trying to, again, crunch the numbers on the Pro Series qualifying. At the moment, Leon Chevalier is actually leading the men's race for the points, but he's scored all 5 of his races, and a lot of the guys just behind him on those points, like Matthew Marcotte, for example, have only scored 4. So he's going to have to replace points with more points, whereas they are just going to get all the points for their next race, which I don't think Leon's actually in the driving seat on that Pro Series.
No.
But if he does well at the World Champs, he'll still be way up there.
No, absolutely. One other big event going on literally right now is the UTMB event. So there's kind of a number of different distances throughout the week. We've got the OCC, CCC, obviously the UTMB. We've got the Tour de Station, which is actually, I think, happening right now as we talk. So a number of different events, and obviously amateurs all the way through to pros. I did spot that Jim Walmsley is actually, who is a previous UTMB winner, has actually dropped out of the UTMB and opted to go on to the CCC start list because of a knee niggle.
I didn't see that. I did see that, and you might be wondering why we're talking about this on a triathlon channel, but the Ironman CEO, Scott Deroux, was actually out there at UTMB. Of course, UTMB owned these days by Ironman, the Ironman brand. So,
and I'm sure it probably tickles a lot of people's fancy, doesn't it? Doing a bit of trail running and ultra
running. Mark, we know it tickles your fancy. You've been angling to do UTMB for years. You just have to pull the trigger one of these days and do it.
Okay, on to Try Spy. Last week we gave you this image, which, if I'm honest, I thought, this is ridiculous. You guys are never going to get this.
Fairly unique, though, to be fair, in hindsight. I mean, it does look like someone just rode through some mess on the road. But no, you guys all
Well, we had a couple of comments. Andrew Shakespeare, Try Spy. Is it either a male or female triathlete? Yes, very good,
yes,
Andrew.
This was after last week where we were taking the mickey out of someone who hedged their bets and gave us a few different possibilities. Yeah.
More in emotion. It's white and gold.
Is it gold and white?
Yeah,
This is the question.
But yeah, pretty much everyone else got it right. I don't think there was one wrong suggestion. Chelsea Sodaro, of course. So yeah, her very obviously recognisable win.
I just figured out what that was. It's the dress thing.
Yeah.
What was the black and blue? Was it black and blue or white and gold?
Yeah, I don't know. Whoa. I can't remember. Yeah,
because it was white and gold or black and blue.
God, that shows our age, doesn't it? This is like the beginning of the internet. Black and blue, yeah. Black and blue or white and gold.
Black and blue or white and gold. 2015, 10 years ago.
All right, well, I'm glad we solved that one. This week we have this
It's
image.
not black and blue,
No, it's not black and blue. I agree. But I think that's the point, isn't it? So this week we have this image. Do your best.
Say what?
Okay, a few comments under our videos this past week. Ivan Nano commented under a video with Ellie Salthouse, pro triathlete, who had a nice chat with Heather about her nutrition pre and around race day.
And travelling.
And travelling, yes, because obviously she's from Australia, so there's a lot of long haul flights. So Ivan Nano's comment, me, I don't travel anywhere without my running shoes. Ellie, I don't travel anywhere without Nutella. I've learnt lots.
I'm not sure of the wisdom of that because you can pretty much get Nutella everywhere in the world. I'm not sure where you can't get Nutella, but you don't want to be caught somewhere arbitrary without any Nutella.
It was very clear from the video that Ellie Salthouse loves her Nutella though, and I think that was one
Don't
of the
leave home without it, just in case there isn't a convenience store near you that stocks it.
Also, under our tyre video this week, where we looked at sort of, is there a limit to the width of tyres?
It was a bit of a reminisce of back when we rode 18 and 20 millimetre tyres and. Yeah.
You rode 18 and 20 mil tyres. And how they go wider and wider and wider. Is there a limit to it? Because obviously we've got aerodynamics to take into account, as well as the rolling resistances and everything with that. Squungy0 has commented under that, said, one major factor that has not been mentioned is rider weight. Heavier riders will get more benefit from wider tyres. 28 mil might be the sweet spot for pros, but they are on average not only faster, but also lighter than most amateurs. Most normal people will probably benefit from going above 28 mil, both in comfort and speed. And actually, I thought I'd just put this in there because it was actually quite a good point, I guess. We didn't talk about rider weight. And yes, there is perhaps some grounds for slightly wider tyres and more comfort, which may result in more speed over sustained or longer periods of time. So something maybe we should look at for future videos.
Yeah, I think what this really puts into perspective is that everybody's bike setup is unique. Everyone's riding on different roads. Everyone's got different goals as far as speed, comfort, etc. And so the ideal tyre width is not the same for everyone. We can't tell you here that this is the ideal tyre width. It's going to be different for everyone. At the moment, it appears that for the pros at their pro level, 25 millimeter on the front, 28 millimeter on the back is the ideal balance of comfort, speed, and aerodynamics. But I can't imagine that'll stay that way for long. And I don't think that is true for most age groupers. I think, it's very case by case dependent. And if you are a heavier rider, I would agree with him. Probably will go wider. You'll be more comfortable.
So good point. And thanks for popping that under the video. Coming up this week then on the channel, we've got a video in which we are sharing a couple of running workouts should you be aiming to run a fast 5K. Now the video is all aimed towards running a sub 20-minute 5K, but actually if you're just hoping to run a faster 5K, then tune in and watch that video. As well as Heather, who recently head out to Switzerland to film with Julie Deron. We've got that video coming very soon on her training and build up to Kona, which is going to be an exciting one.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.